Okay, we'll start now. About 2 weeks back, we conducted first class of Buddhism in Indian philosophy. So that was Buddhism part one. So now we'll continue with part two. But before that, I just want to say uh, I'm starting uh, test series also for 2025 exam candidates, and already links etc. have been posted in various groups. So if anybody wants to join, they can join. From 6th of next month, it will start. And the schedule, etc., also will be given in due course. A separate group also will be formed of those students who are appearing in this year's exam. And we will have some intensive kind of writing practice uh, along with test series with proper guidance. That also I will try to do. So this is just I want to tell you. Now, before I take up the Buddhism part two, I just want to tell you what we did last week. So last class, Zoom class. So general philosophical tenets of Buddhism were discussed. Along with that, one important topic from Buddhism, that is Pratyut Samutpad, that was also discussed. And there are about 6 7 topics. So then I told that remaining topics we will discuss in next class. So today is that class, so we will discuss that now. But before that, let me again explain to you what are important topics in Buddhism. So just I want to start sharing this, and then we can discuss. See, first we will again start from the syllabus of philosophy paper. So let us see what is the syllabus and pertaining to Buddhism in that. So paper one, if you see, uh, schools of Buddhism 14. In that, Pratyut Samutpad, Kshanikvad, and Naratmavad, these three topics are quoted. But if you see the previous year's questions, I have analyzed about uh, previous last 12 years questions. So if you see that, or in Buddhism, uh, now Pratyut Samutpad is anyway very important question. So this if you see, it has come in one, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 years. 7 times it has been asked in different forms. Then another question regarding Sunnata. It has come 1, 2, twice. Then another important question, if you see, uh, is regarding Naratmavad. Now, Naratmavad, it has come 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 times roughly. Then Kshanikvad, another question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 times. So what I want to say is, previous year questions, if you see, then you can identify which are very important topics in Buddhism, and accordingly you can concentrate. So seeing previous year questions and also the syllabus, I have identified a few topics. Last class also I told. Now again, I just want to tell you. Now, I mean, all both papers I have identified. Now this is Buddhism. Let us say Buddhism, what are the topics which we need to study? Pratyut Samutpad is one. Concept of Sunita is one. Then Anattavad, Anatmavad, or Naratmavad. All three are same, basically. So this is another important topic. Kshanikvad is then another. Then Arth Kriya Karitva. This is another topic. Then Nirvana, that is Nibbana, another topic. So basically, these 6 topics I have identified, which are very important in Buddhism. Now, out of that, Pratyut Samutpad we have already discussed last time. So, balance 5 topics we are going to discuss today in Buddhism lecture part 2. So, now let us start that straight away. See, first we will start from uh, Sunita, because that is the second topic which I have identified in list of the topics. So, Sunita or emptiness. Now, this topic has come about 2-3 times in last 12 years, but this is important because this is a very, uh, I mean, basis on which the Buddhism has been uh, instituted or formulated its other basically doctrines. So Sunnita is this Sanskrit word, and it is translated as emptiness or voidness, and it is foundational concept in Buddhism. It refers to absence of intrinsic independent existence in all phenomena. So basically, this is its meaning. If you go for its actual meaning, absence of intrinsic independent existence in all phenomena. So whatever we can assume, they say that uh, there is absence of any intrinsic independent existence, while its interpretation varies across schools. Because in Buddhism there are a number of schools. You will see, I mean, how their this interpretation not only of this concept but other concepts also, it varies a lot in different schools of Buddhism. So it varies definitely. Uh, I mean, across schools, it consistently functions as both metaphysical insight and meditative realization aimed at liberation. So, on the one hand, metaphysically also Shunyata is important. On the other hand, soteriologically also, because uh, for attainment of nirvana and liberation from dukkha, also this topic is important. So the concept is prominent in the teachings. Basically, now, I mean, which are other schools, Mahayana and other Buddhist philosophers. So in their teachings, this has been noted. So I'm not going to that. Just you can, because anyway, PDF I will be putting tomorrow so that you can see. Now let us see regarding Sunnita. Because basic concept of Sunnita is this: that absence of intrinsic independent existence in all phenomena. Now, let us see what various schools in Buddhism say about this. Let us say what Theravada school of Buddhism says. Sunnita is closely tied to doctrine of anatta. In fact, I can just tell you, in Buddhism there are 4-5 basic doctrines, and all are interrelated. Pratyut Samutpad, Kshanikvad, Anattavad, Sunnita, all these are interrelated doctrines. So that we will see subsequently also how they are very closely related, and one is dependent on other basically. So Sunnita is closely tied to doctrine of anatta. Anatta means that is no self doctrine. So that is the anatta, no self, naratmavad or anatmavad or anatta, all are same. So no self doctrine of Theravada. And it signifies that 5 skandhas, panch skandhas, and 6 senses uh, basis lack an enduring self or insurance. So basically, there is no enduring self or essence, but it is constituted of 5 skandhas and 6 senses. Now, classical texts, I mean, this again, the various texts of Theravada has been quoted about how they have described phenomena as divide of intrinsic nature. So then another Buddhist philosopher, Theravada philosopher, Buddhadasa Bhikkhu, emphasized emptiness as the heart of Buddhist practice, equating it with nibbana, the extinguishing suffering. So actually, all these philosophers of Theravada have given different interpretations of Sunyata. Then again, Thansaro Bhikkhu, another views emptiness as a strategic mode of perception, not a metaphysical stance. Then modern scholars like David J. Kalupana argue that early Theravada texts align with Nagarjuna's critique of Sabhava, offering a shared foundation of Madhyamaka. So basically, these are different interpretations, but ultimately, what they want to say is that this is linked with liberation, and it's not as much as a metaphysical stance, but more it is a soteriological stance. Now, if you see Mahayana, Theravada, after Theravada, we can see what Mahayana has said. So, Mahayana developments now, Pragya Paramis Sutra. I mean, there are different again schools in Mahayana. So, one is uh, Pragya Paramis Sutra. In that, I mean, these foundational texts of Mahayana, there uh, they say that all dharmas are empty of essence. So basically, they describe Shunyata like this. Emptiness here is not nihilistic, but a liberating insight into the nature of reality. So this is their view regarding Shunyata, and phenomena are like illusion. I mean, they are, if you know about Advait Vedanta, because they come up with the doctrine of Maya for illusions. So here also, phenomena are like illusions or dreams, that is Swapna. The Bodhisattva stands in non-apprehension and fearless in the face of ontological groundlessness. So basically, here also, they are saying that all, uh, I mean, phenomena is empty of essence. So this is again the the foundational text of Mahayana. I mean, that's what they are saying. Now, Madhyamik school, let us see what they say. Founded by Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna is one of the very key philosopher in Buddhism. He asserts that all phenomena are niswabhav. All phenomena are niswabhav without own being, because they arise dependently. That is pratyut samutpad. So this is their interpretation of Madhyamik school, I mean, Sunita. Then again, there are different views in this school also, quoted in different texts of Buddhism. So if we see, so I mean, it is mentioned here, so you can read it uh, tomorrow when I put this thing. But main basis is again that since Niswabha, all phenomena have no essence, and it's because they are dependent on each other. That is, they arise from Pratyut Samutpad. So that is their main argument. Now, in Yogacharya school, again, Yogacharya or Vijnanavad interprets emptiness as the absence of duality between subject and object. So their interpretation is again little different from other schools of Buddhism, and all experiences are mental projections. Emptiness is redefined as lack of real separation in perception. And they have thinkers like Asanga and Vasubandhu. They emphasize that three natures, particularly the dependent and perfected natures. So basically, uh, their view is again entirely different from other views of Buddhist schools. So Yogacharyans also criticize Madhyamikas for veering into nihilism, advocating instead a positive assertions of mind-body experience. So their dualism basically between subject and object is different from Madhyamikas. Now, uh, again, another view is Tathagat Garbha and Buddha nature. So let us see what they say. Texts like Srimal Devi Sutra and Malya Sutra introduce the idea of an innate Buddha nature within all beings. So they have another different interpretation of Sunita, which is described as unborn, eternal, and non-dual, yet divided of ego. Then some other traditions interpreted Buddha nature as metaphor of emptiness, view it as ultimate reality. Now, critics from critical Buddhism school, particularly Hakamaya, Noriaki, and Mastao Shiro, see Buddha nature as introducing essentialism contrary to core Buddhist principles. So basically, what I mean here, what is being said is that if you say that Buddha nature is emptiness, it means they are going against the original doctrine of Sunnata. So that's what is being said here. Now, if you see comparative between Sunnita and Advaita Vedanta, because these two doctrines in a way compare with each other also. So if we compare with interdiscipline Sunnita and Advaita Vedanta, so let us see. How we can compare as Gaudapada's Ajatvad, that is non-origination, as seen in his Manduka Karika. Manduka Karika is a text from Advaita Vedanta, bears resemblance to Buddhist Anutpada. But key difference remains. Now, what are the differences between these two? Vedanta affirms a permanent, unchanging Brahma, while Sunnita denies any ultimate substratum. Again, according to B.N.K. Sharma and K. Sachidanand Murthy, they are again modern scholars who have commented. They say that Gaudapada's absolute is metaphysical, unlike Nagarjuna's non-ontological emptiness. So, Sunita or Nagarjuna's Sunita is non-ontological, and Vedanta's, that is Gaudapada's absolute, is metaphysical. So, and ontology and metaphysics is same thing. That also you should understand. They are not different. So one is what they are saying is Vedanta's absolute is metaphysical, and Nagarjuna's emptiness is non-metaphysical. Now, let us understand what is the critical evaluation of this doctrine, because till now what we have understood is what different sects or different uh, you can say kinds of Buddhism or different sects of Buddhism, what they view as far as Sunnita is concerned, and how Sunnita is comparable to Advaita Vedanta's absolute. Now, let us see what is the critical evaluation of this whole Sunnita concept. Now, first point is philosophical sophistication. Now, Sunnita provides a radical critique of metaphysical essentialism, aligning with post-structuralist and phenomenological trends. So basically, they, in a way, go with a very modern kind of trend in that sense, if you see, because their alignment with post-structuralist and phenomenology is a resemblance of their modern view in a way. So Sunita provides a radical critique of metaphysical essentialism. Now, scholars like David Law and Jag Garfield explore these intersections. Now, what is soteriological value? If you see, emptiness functions as a tool to dissolve attachments and promote liberation. So, it is deeply practical. So, it has soteriological value also. Now, what is paradox of emptiness? Critics argue that if all views are empty, the doctrine of emptiness risks self-reputation or relativism. So, if all views are empty, then accordingly, this Sunnita doctrine also becomes empty. So that is what they mean here. Now, next is doctrinal fragmentation. The diversity of interpretation, that is Madhyamika Yogachara, Tathagat Garva, poses challenges for doctrinal coherence, because as we have seen, different sects of Buddhism, they interpret differently. So it's a very fragmented kind of view, and there is no unified view which Buddhism is presenting as far as doctrine of Sunnita is concerned. Then, but what is contemporary appeal of this doctrine? Emptiness resonates in fields like quantum physics, uh, cognitive science, and existential psychology. So, accordingly, it's very relevant as far as contemporary science, contemporary psychology is concerned, and its abstraction may hinder direct application in real world ethics. So, that is again this thing. Now, let us see in conclusion what we can say. Sunnita remains one of the Buddhist most profound philosophical contribution. It is not a denial of existence, but a revelation of interdependence, impermanence, and non-sustainability. So this is the important conclusion, that it's not denial of existence, not nihilism, but a revelation of interdependence, impermanence, and non-sustainability. While doctrinally diverse and occasionally paradoxical, it continues to shape Buddhist metaphysics, meditation, and global philosophical discourse. So it shapes all Buddhist metaphysics, meditation, and global philosophical discourse. Now, this briefly completes the doctrine of Sunnita from Buddhism. Now, let us see. Now, we'll go to second important topic of Buddhism, that is Anatta or Anatmavad or Naratmavad, which is called doctrine of non-self, that there is no self. So, Let us understand what Buddhism say about that. Now, doctrine of anatta or anat are known as also known as Nairatmavad is one of the most radical departures of Buddhism from Brahminical physics, metaphysics, because the other systems of Indian philosophy they assert a permanent self, permanent soul, permanent self, but Buddhism says no, there is no permanent soul or permanent self. It asserts that there is no eternal, unchanging, or permanent self, that is Atma, underlying human existence or phenomena. It is central to Buddhist metaphysics, psychology, and soteriology. So, all soteriology is basically the path leading to nirvana or liberation. So, that is soteriology. So, it is this doctrine of Nairatmavad is central to Buddhist metaphysics, psychology, and soteriology. Anatta is one of three lakshanas alongside dukkha, anicca, and anatta. So these are three lakshanas of Buddha, three marks of existence of Buddhism. First is dukkha, that is suffering or unsatisfactoriness. Second is impermanence, that is anicca. Third is anatta, non-soul or non-soul. So these are three lakshanas in Buddhism. As Buddha said, he who sees Pratyut Samutpad sees the Dhamma. He who sees Dhamma sees me. And this he has said in Majjhima Nikaya, one of the Buddhist scriptures. Now let us see what is etymology and conceptual background of this Anatmavad or Anattavad. Now Anatta is a Pali word which means no or not, and Atta means self. So no self. So Anatta is Pali which means no self. Anatman is Sanskrit. Again it means no Atma. So this doctrine is a direct rejection of Vedic or Upanishadic belief in Atma. So, this is very important because, as I told, all orthodox schools of Indian philosophy who believe in Upanishads or Vedas, they say that there is a permanent self, and this doctrine says that there is no permanent self. So, according to Peter Harvey, one of the modern critics, the Anatta doctrine is not merely a denial of ego in the psychological sense, as in Freudian thought, but a metaphysical negation of an abiding essence or self behind the empirical stream of experience. So, this is again important comment from William Harvey. Buddhism thus offers a phenomenological model of human being, one that is dynamic, processual, and dependent upon conditions. Now, what are philosophical foundations of uh, this Anatmavad? So let us understand that. Now, as I told, all main doctrines of Buddhism are interconnected. So here we will see that how Pratyut Samutpad, Sunyata, Anatmavad, Chanikvad, all are interconnected doctrines. So Anatta doctrine arises as a natural consequences of following chain. So this is chain, if you see. First is Pratyut Samutpad, that is dependent origination. Everything arises dependent on conditions. Second is Anityavad, that is impermanence. Nothing lasts forever. Third is Chanikvad, that is momentariness. All phenomena exist only momentarily. Fourth is Anatman, that is non-self, which is this doctrine. No enduring self can exist in momentary world. And fifth is Sunyata. All things are empty of intrinsic value. So basically, if you see, these five doctrines are interrelated, and it starts from Pratyut Samutpad and ends at Sunyata. So in fact, this table or this chain of doctrines also in your answers you can remember and you can try to quote, because Pratyut Samutpad leads to Anityavad, Anityavad leads to Chanikvad, Chanikvad leads to Anatmavad, Anatmavad leads to Sunyata. So this is the philosophical foundation of Sunyata as well as Anatmavad, or as well as Chanikvad, whatever you say. I mean, this is, I mean, you can say. Now, this sequence, supported in Abhidhamma literature and explained by Nagarjuna, forms the backbone of Buddhist metaphysics. So, this is backbone of Buddhist metaphysics. This sequence is very important. Pratyut Samutpad, Anityavad, Chanikvad, Anatmavad, Sunyata. Now, what is Theravada perspective of this Anatmavad? In Theravada school, Anatta is foundational to attainment of Nibbana, that is Nirvana. So this is what they feel in Theravada perspective. Now, key figures and texts of Theravada are Nayana Thera, then Bhikkhu Sodhi, Bodhi, Stephen Collins, Donald Swear have offered detailed commentaries on its doctrine. Their commentaries are also there. Then again, Milind Panha, he offers another famous dialogue on the concept through chariot analogy of Nagsena. So all these key figures and texts are important as far as Theravada perspective is concerned. But the main crux of this school's ideology is that anatta is foundational to the attainment of liberation, attainment of nibbana. Now, what is the application in the suttas? Then let us see that. First is ontological. All conditioned phenomena are devoid of self. So this is ontological explanation. Then psychological, the sense of I and mine is a delusion. Then nominal, the word self is a conventional expression, not a metaphysical entity. So this is again three kinds of explanations they have given. Now, what is practical relevance as far as Theravada is concerned of Anatmavad? Theravada meditation, especially Vipassana, involves systematically analyzing the Panchaskandhas to realize the absence of core self. Now, what are Panchaskandhas, or that is empirical self? The self explained as a bundle of five aggregates. First is Rupa, then Vedana, then Samagya, then Sanskara, and then another is Vijnana. So all these five constitute, Panchaskandhas constitute the bundle of, self is basically bundle of these five skandhas, five aggregates. Now, these five are impermanent and causally connected, forming the illusion of self. So again, they are not permanent. That's also we should understand. These five are impermanent and causally connected, forming the illusion of a self. Now, Milind Panha, Nagsena and Milind Panha uses a chariot analogy. Chariot analogy is a chariot is a collection of parts. Similarly, a person is a collection of skandhas, that is aggregates. There is a no chariot or person beyond the parts. So this is what the Nagsena has given the example as far as Anatmavad is concerned. Now, what is Mahayana interpretation? Let us see that what Mahayana interpretation. Nagarjuna and Madhyamika school, that is Nagarjuna, the founder of Madhyamika, integrates Anatta with Sunyata. So this is again, both are integrated, and we have seen also how each one doctrine is related to other. So the Nagarjuna integrates Anatta with Sunyata. According to another modern commentator, David Kalupana, Nagarjuna's denial of inherent nature of that is Swabhava extends Anatta to all phenomena. So this is again important. Then three meanings of Sunyata has been identified by another modern commentator, Mun Ki Chung, and these are meditative state of emptiness, then phenomenological, all things lack self, and then ultimate, the realization of emptiness leads to nirvana. So this again is related to anatta as well as sunyata also. Then again another controversy, self-like controversy of Tathagat Garvad. Let us see what is that. Some Mahayana texts, again, this is a part of Mahayana interpretation of Anatta. Some Mahayana texts, notably Tathagat Garva Sutra, state that all sentient beings have Buddha nature. So this again we have seen. Now, the scholarly views again on this commentary, some scholars have given their views. Paul Williams and Michael Jameron argue this appears to reintroduce a self-like essence. Williams sees it as a pedagogical device, not a literal selfhood. Then Peter Harvey and Yambe argue that it represents potentiality for enlightenment, not an eternal soul. So different interpretation modern thinkers have given, but ultimately they conclude that it's not an eternal soul, it's a potentiality for enlightenment or nirvana or something like that. Now, Naratmavad extended application. What is extended application? Let us understand that. The term Naratma or no self appears in later Mahayana or Vajrayana texts, especially in Pragya Parvita literature. It includes Udgala Naratmya and Dharma Naratma. So these are two basically kinds of Naratmavad in that text. Pudgal Naratma means denial of self in person, and Dharma Naratma means denial of self in self nature in phenomena. So these are two kinds of Naratmas they have advocated. In Vasubandhu's Avidharma Kosha, even dharmas, that is phenomena, are explained as momentary, non-substantial events. Now, what are the arguments in support of anatta they have given, Buddhism has given? Let us understand that. No empirical evidence for a permanent soul. So, first argument is this: no empirical evidence is there for a permanent soul. Therefore, there is no permanent soul. Experience is always impermanent events. Now, second is Pratyut Samutpad negates independence and permanence. So, this is the second argument they have given. Then third is the law of karma. Cannot function if soul is immutable. So this again they have given another argument. Then moral continuity. Upheld by causal sequence, not metaphysical identity. In fact, this is criticism also which Vedanta and other schools have done it, but they have defended like that. Moral continuity is upheld by causal sequence and not by metaphysical identity. Another is candle analogy they have given, Milinpana. One flame lights another without being numerically identical. So this is how they have explained Naratmavat. Now, what is critical evaluation of Naratmavat theory? Let us understand that. Now, there are several challenges, and first we will understand philosophical challenge which has been raised. Now, first cause dilemma. What initiates the causal chain? If you see, in Pratyut Samutpad there are 12 causal connections. So, first cause dilemma, what is being raised is what initiates the causal chain, what initiates the first cause actually. So, that is not clear as far as Buddhism is concerned. Then, memory problem. Without a persisting self or subject, how is memory possible? This is again another problem. Third is liberation. If there is no self, who attains nirvana? So, this is again another problem is given. Now, for all this, Buddhism has given some responses. So, now let us see what is the response. Buddhism emphasizes conventional identity and psychological continuity, not metaphysical performance. What they are saying that there is conventional identity and psychological continuity and not metaphysical permanence, as is claimed by other orthodox schools. Then enlightenment is awakening to non-self, not realization of a true self. So this is again another their explanation or interpretation of liberation. Now, how it compares with Hinduism or other orthodox schools which have advocated permanent self or Atma, let us see that. Now, we'll compare two schools, basically Buddhism and Hinduism. Now, for Buddhism, soul or self is, they denied eternal self. Buddhism affirmed eternal and immutable self. Then liberation, nirvana through realizing self. Buddhism says moksha through realizing Atma Brahm, identity, impermanent flow, and then they say that it's transcendental essence, karma, continuity without soul, and their soul accumulates karma. So basically, both are totally different because one says permanent self, another says no self. Now, these are key Hindu texts which have been, basically showing that how Atma is permanent or self is permanent. For example, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Atma is Brahma. Chandogya Upanishad, Tattvatamasi. Maitri Upanishad, Nairatma used to signify transcendence of ego. So again, if we see, according to Thomas Wood and Paul Dixon, these are two, again, modern critics. The term Nairatma in the Upanishads denotes ego transcendence and not the Buddhist no self. So, in fact, in Upanishads also Naratma has been used, but there is in a different sense, not in the same sense as it has been used in Buddhism. Now, what are cross-cultural parallels? So now, because usually I keep on telling, whenever you are dealing with Indian philosophy, if there are some parallels from Western philosophy, you have to quote that, and you have to, in your answers also, you have to mention. So here also, if you see, David Hume, if you remember, in Western philosophy, we have read that David Hume has advocated bundle theory of self. And this bundle theory of self parallels with Skanda theory of Buddhism. Again, similarly, Pyrrhus of Elis, that is Greek philosopher influenced by Indian aesthetics. Now, they have advocated, undifferentiated phenomena, which echoes with anatta. So basically, these two, David Hume and Pyrrhus of Elis, both have advocated theories which are resembling anattavada of Buddhism. Now, what conclusion we can draw? The doctrine of anatta is a profound challenge to essentialist conceptions of self. It rejects eternalism without falling into nihilism. So, because questions are also asked that whether it is a nihilist philosophy, or whether they are leading to nihilism. So this is what is made clear here. It rejects eternalism without falling into nihilism. It forms the metaphysical foundation of Buddhist ethics, meditation, and liberation. While opposing the Upanishadic concept of Atma, it remains a sophisticated and psychologically profound theory of impermanence, causality, and interdependence. So this is again important conclusion because it explains a number of things that also we should note. Now, next, in essence, the Anatta doctrine is not a denial of existence, but a redefinition of what it means to exist. So this is again a very important sentence, that it's not a denial of existence, but a redefinition of what it means to exist. Now, another important theory of Buddhism we will see now, Chanikvad, or theory of momentariness. Now, this is again very important because several times these questions have been asked on Chanikvad. Now, Chanikvad, the doctrine of momentariness, is the cornerstone of Buddhist metaphysics. This is very important. It asserts that all phenomena are momentary, lacking both permanence and a stable essence. Rooted in early Buddhist thought, of course, this doctrine is elaborated in schools like Vaibhasika and Sautrantrika and echoed in Madhyamika philosophy of Nagarjuna and Yogacharya idealism of Vasubandhu. So this theory not only defines the metaphysical nature of reality, but also serves as the ethical and soteriological foundation of Buddhism, linking closely to doctrines of Anatta, Dukkha, and forming three Lakshana. So basically, as I told, all main doctrines of Buddhism are linked with each other. So if you remember, right, starting from Pratyut Samutpad, it ends with Sunyata. And in between, you have Anattavad, you have Chanikvad, you have Anityavad. So all these doctrines are linked with each other. So, they form three Lakshana. Now, what is, let us see etymology and sources. Now, what it means basically. So, in Pali, Anika means not permanent. In Sanskrit, Anitya means not eternal. And Chanikvad, definitely it means momentary. So, all the three are same. Anityavad, Anikvad, or Chanikvad. Now, this teaching is emphasized in Abhidhamma Pitaka and systematized by Bodh Ghosa in the Visdimaga. It is foundational to the Vaibhasik school of Sarvas, which posited the momentary existence of dharmas across past, present, and future. So this is thrust of this doctrine. Now, what are the parallels in Western philosophy? Let us see in the beginning itself. Heraclitus is one of the Greek philosophers. His philosophy is in a way resembling to Chanikvad. Now, what is his philosophy? He says, Heraclitus said, everything flows. No man steps in the same river twice. This is the philosophy of Heraclitus. He shares the Buddhist emphasis on change as the only constant, opposing static being. Change is the only constant. That's what he told. Now, David Hume, another philosopher, Western philosopher, I never can catch myself without a perception. So this again, he has denied self as a substance, linked it to a bundle of perceptions akin to Buddhist Panchaskandha theory. So again, David Hume also is comparable to Buddhist thought. Then another process theology, Alfred North Whitehead. His philosophy also, he proposed that reality is a sequence of actual occasions, mirroring the momentariness of dharmas. His metaphysical position of becoming over being reflects the Buddhist worldview. So these three, Heraclitus, David Hume, and Alfred North Whitehead, their philosophy is basically a lot resembles to Buddhist philosophy of Chanikvad or Nairatmavad. Another philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, this the existential philosopher, also denied fixed being. There are no things, only actions, doings, and becomings. So his philosophy also is linked with, or almost uh, having some similarity with Buddhist Chanikvad. Now, let us see. In fact, this earlier also we have seen. Now, again, this is being repeated because it is very important. What is the sequence of doctrines? So, Anityavad, Chanikvad, Nairatmavad, Sunyatavad. And before that, if you remember, before Anityavad, there is a Pratyut Samutpad. So, Pratyut Samutpad, Anityavad, Chanikvad, Nairatmavad, Sunyatavad, all are interrelated. Now, Pratyut Samutpad says dependent origination. Anityavad says, so if you add here Pratyut Samutpad also, so now suppose this is first doctrine, so it leads to Anityavad. Pratyut Samutpad says dependent origination. It leads to Anityavad, that is everything is impermanent. Then it leads to Kshanikvad. Impermanence implies change at every moment. Then it leads to Naratmavad, that is there is no permanent self as well. And it leads to Sunyatavad, that is all phenomena are devoid of intrinsic essence. This is Nagarjuna Swabhav Sunyata. So basically, these five concepts are linked with each other. This we should remember, and this we try to quote in Buddhist questions if are being asked in exam. Pratyut Samutpad, Anityavad, Kshanikvad, Naratmavad, Sunyatavad. And how one leads to other, this is also very, very important. So the next we are seeing that only the principle of dependent origination, that is Pratyut Samutpad, elaborated by Gautam Buddha and central to Madhyamik school, asserts that all phenomena are conditional. Hence, nothing has self-subsistence. Everything is momentary and interdependent. So basically, this is how they are linked with each other. Now, another linked theory is Arth Kriya Karitva, that is causal efficiency. This we will see in detail later on also, but here just in briefly we have mentioned. Now, Buddhist logicians like Dignaga and Dharmakirti argue that a thing is real only when it produces effect. So, Arth Kriya Karitva means a thing is real only when it produces an effect. A real entity is that which performs causal function, that is Arth Kriya Karitva. So, this is what it means. For example, a seed is real if it produces a sprout. If it fails to produce any result, it is no more than a name and a mere pratyut samutpanna, that is dependent appearance. Now, what are models within Kshanikvad? What are different kinds of Kshanikvad, or different models, let us say? Now, one is Sanatanavad, that is theory of stream. This is proposed by South Tantric school, one of the Buddhist schools. The self is a causally connected stream of consciousness, that is Vijnana Sanatan, not a static entity. This is what they say, Sanatanvad. Another is Sanghatvad, that is theory of aggregates. Now what they say, soul is merely a bundle of five skandhas, that is Rupa, Vedana, Sana, Sanghara, Vijnana. Influenced Vasubandhu, who analyzed skandhas in Avidharma Kosa. So basically, Sanghatvad says that soul is merely a bundle of five skandhas. Now, some illustrations also they have given. One is flame analogy they have given. Each flame is new, yet it appears continuous. Then river analogy they have given, which is common to Buddha as well as Heraclitus also. That in same river you cannot bathe twice or enter twice. I mean, that's what they have given. Then Buddha Gosa has given wheel analogy, that is life of a living being lasts only for one thought. So these similes emphasize basically flux and continuity without identity. So this is what is meaning by these illustrations. Now, what is critical in evaluation of this theory of Kshanikvad? Let us understand that. Now, other schools of Indian philosophy, for example, Sankara Vedanta, he denied momentariness, arguing for a permanent Atma as the witness of change. He emphasized memory and recognition require a persistent subject. So that's what Buddhist objection on Buddhism. Basically, Sankara has, unless there is a permanent self, there is no memory, there is no recognition. Nyaya school again asserts that cognition, recognition, and moral responsibility require a unitary self. This is again very important. The Nyaya school has done. So, if there is no enduring self, who acts and who reaps the fruits of karma? So this is again their objection. Now, what are Buddhist responses to this? Because Buddhism has responded to these objections. Now, Theravada explains that karma persists through causal linkage like one flame lighting other. This is what their explanation of objections from Sankara or Nyaya school. Then Nagarjuna has argued that emptiness is not nihilism, but middle path beyond between eternalism and annihilationism. So this is what Nagarjuna's response of Shankara and Nyaya school. Now we'll see the comparative table of Buddhism and Western parallel. Let us see what because Western parallel is very important, and that too Indian different schools also we have to compare. But this also we need to remember, because in any answer, if we are able to compare with Western philosophy or relevant Western philosophers, relevant Indian philosophers, it will be quite impressive as far as examiner is concerned. Now, change of reality in Buddhism, it's Chanikvad, and Heraclitus, it's flux doctrine. Now, denial of substance, self, that is anatta or panchaskandha in Buddhism, and bundle theory in Hume. Now, process view of reality. Now, pratyut samutpad and sunnita in Buddhism, and Whitehead's process philosophy in Western philosophy. So, this is quite comparable theories as far as Buddhism and Western thinkers are concerned. So, that's also we should remember. Then again, causal efficiency, Buddhism, they are saying Arth Kriya Karitva, and in Western parallel, Jamesian pragmatism, William James, pragmatism of William James. Then epistemic continuity, here Sanatanvad, that is mental stream, and they are Nietzsche becoming over being. So, if we see many ideas or concepts of Buddhism have direct parallels with Western philosophy. So this also we should remember, and we should try to utilize whenever we are answering as far as Buddhism is concerned, and vice versa also. If we are answering up those Western philosophers, regarding those Western philosophers, we can draw parallels from Buddhism also. Now, what is concluding thought as far as Chanikvad is concerned? Buddhism's Chanikvad dismantles the illusion of permanence and substance. It redefines reality as a network of momentary, causally linked events. So this is what reality is as far as Buddhism is concerned. Now, this view converges with both Greek flux metaphysics and modern process philosophy, as we have already explained. This Buddhism view is converging with both modern philosophy, process philosophy, as well as Greek flux metaphysics. Now, as P.B. Shelley captures the essence of impermanence, words on words are rolling over from creation to decay, like the bubbles on a river, sparkling, bursting, and born away. So basically, Buddhism is quite comparable with Western philosophy in many aspects. That's what we should remember here. Now, another important concept of Buddhism, Arth Kriya Karitva. That is the doctrine of causal efficiency. That also we should know, because I am sure two, three times this question also has been asked, Arth Kriya Karitva. Now, in Buddhist philosophy, existence is not defined by permanence or substance, but by functionality and causal efficiency. So, there is no permanent existence, as we have already seen. So, what does it mean? Existence means functionality or causal efficiency. The concept of Artha Kriya Karitva literally meaning the capacity to perform a function or produce an effect. So, this is what it means. It becomes the key criterion of what is considered real or existent. So anything in Buddhism, if it is real or existent, it should produce some effect. So that's what it means basically. It reflects the core Buddhist emphasis on impermanence, that is anicca, and dependent origination, that is pratyut samutpad. So this is again, this is linked with each other. Now, defining existence through function. I mean, basically, what is Artha Kriya Karitva? Defining existence through function. Now, this is very important point here. According to Buddhism, particularly Yogacharya school, we conventionally call a thing is merely a temporary aggregation of momentary characteristics. Now, these dharmas are constantly arising and ceasing. An object exists only so long as it can produce an effect. So, an object exists so long as it can only produce effect. So, this is basically the meaning of existence in Buddhism. Now, this perspective was anticipated in the early discourse of Buddha. Yes, whatever is subject to origination is subject to cessation. What is this? What Buddha has said. Now, this view is later reinforced by Vasubandhu, who insists that existence is determined by causal efficiency. So, Artha Kriya Karitva in a way is basically definition of existence as far as Buddhism is concerned. And that any dharma that cannot perform a function is no longer considered real. This is what is the real meaning of Artha Kriya Karitva. Now, what is Ratnakirti's interpretation? He is a Buddhist logician. He developed this doctrine in a refined form in his treatise. He argues that existence is universally defined as the ability to produce an effect. Now, according to him, if something cannot produce an effect, it cannot be said to exist. So, this is what is Artha Kriya Karitva from his point of view. Ratnakirti thereby links this definition directly to doctrine of momentariness, arguing that each moment brings forth a unique non-repeating effect. Hence, each new moment marks the arising of a new existence. Nothing persists identically through time. So this is uh, basically Ratnakirti's explanation of Artha Kriya Karitva. Now, this standpoint is a critical continuation of earlier insights, who led that perception and inference both rest on casual interactions with the real world. Only that which causes an effect is real. Now, illustrative examples also they have given of seed, because a seed which can sprout is only real seed. So that's what they mean. It is said that said to exist not because of a fixed essence, but because it holds the potential to sprout in a plant. A seed is seed because it has holds the potential to sprout in a plant. Even in dormancy, its internal changes reflect its earth kriya. Once it decays or fails to produce any effect, it no longer holds existence. This is what their concept is, or example they have given. In contrast, fictitious entities like sky flower or hair sarm cannot produce any effect and are therefore classified as non-existent. Earth kriya karitva and kshanikvad, how they are related, let us see that now. Because as I told in Buddhism, one concept is linked to other. I mean, this is very, the concept of Arth Kriya Karitva leads seamlessly to Buddhist theory of momentariness. How defended vigorously by Dharmakirti in his this thing. Key implications include how all compounded phenomena are momentary. The world is not composed of enduring substance, but a dynamic causal streams. Continuity is conceptual, not real. It is an appearance. This dynamic view of existence parallels poetic insight. So basically, Arth Kriya Karitva and momentariness are linked, because one moment leads to other. It means one moment gives effect to other moment. So therefore, momentariness and Arth Kriya Karitva are linked with each other. And not only this, but other Buddhist concepts are also linked with each other, as we have seen in earlier this thing, how momentariness is linked with Anattavad and also Pratit Samutpad and Sunyata. So all these are linked with each other, that we should understand. Now, what is critical evaluation of this concept? What are its strengths? Let us understand that. Empirical foundation. This doctrine is grounded in observable phenomena, not metaphysical speculation. So this first thing is this is empirical in nature. So which makes it more scientific, more verifiable. Then alignment with core Buddhist tenets. This is again important because other, as I told, other doctrines are also linked with each other. It directly supports anicca, that is impermanence, anatta, that is non-self, and pratyut samutpad. So I mean, basically this Arth Kriya Karitva supports all these doctrines and linked with each other. And then there are modern philosophical parallels also, because it anticipates process theology, process philosophy, which defines reality not as a substance but as a becoming event, as a process. So reality for process philosophy is not a substance but a becoming or event, as a process basically. Now, what are criticisms? Again, from Nyaya Vaisesika and Advaita Vedanta, they have severe criticism they have done. Nyaya Vaisesika says philosophers like Buddhian, Vasyan argue that causal efficiency is a property of substance, not its definition. So that is their criticism. They insist on the existence of a substratum that persists through change. So this is their criticism. Advaita Vedanta has again he has criticized. Sankara claims that causal activity belongs to empirical realm. Ultimate reality, Brahma, is changeless, non-dual, and beyond causality. So this is criticism from Advaita Vedanta. Now, what is the problem of continuity and identity? Now, this is again an important point as far as Buddhism is concerned, which has been raised by other philosophical schools. Now, if entities exist only for a moment, how do we explain memory, personal identity, and moral responsibility? Now, this kind of question also has come earlier. Maybe about 10 marks question or even 15 marks question has come. So we should understand this. If entities exist only for a moment, how do we explain memory, personal identity, and moral responsibility? Now, this has been raised very strongly by Advaita Vedanta as well as Nyaya philosophers also. Now, Buddhist response to this is based on causal continuity. For example, the flame of one candle lighting another. are basically, that's what they explain. It's not metaphysical continuity, but it's causal continuity, are conceptually rich but remain philosophically contested. Then again, another ethical and existential concerns. Defining existence purely in terms of utility may lead to instrumentalism, because as you have seen, they have defined existence that something exists means something can produce effect. Uh, it means it is existing, or they define existence in that term. So what is being is said here is this kind of definition may lead to instrumentalism. Thinkers like Emmanuel Levy has stressed that ethical subjectivity cannot be reduced to causal functions alone. So this is again objection from ethical and existential point of view. Now, in conclusion, what we can say is the doctrine of Arthakriya Karitva remains a defining feature of Buddhist ontology. It reorients metaphysical inquiry away from speculative permanence toward function, interdependence, and momentariness. While it faces significant critiques from realist, essentialist, non-Buddhist systems, it articulates a uniquely processual and pragmatic worldview, one in which nothing is static and everything is in a state of ceaseless becoming. On locating reality in causal efficacy, Buddhism offers a radical vision of impermanence, which continues to inspire both philosophy. What is being said here is, despite so many criticisms, it's quite important philosophy because it has several Western parallels also. So modern thought or modern philosophy also takes inspiration from that, and it continues to inspire. Uh, I mean, uh, Philosophical inquiry as a spiritual practice. That's what is the meaning of this. Now we'll go to another important topic of nirvana or nibbana. So this is again important topic of Buddhism, and questions have been asked on this topic also again and again. Now the term nirvana is again Sanskrit term, and nibbana is a Pali term. Literally means to blow out or to extinguish. This is the literal meaning of this, which means it signifies the cessation of fires uh, of raga, dvesa, and moha, which sustain samsara, that is cyclic existence. And it is the supreme spiritual goal of Buddhism, a state of ultimate freedom, vimukti, transcending both conceptually and conditional existence. So this is what nirvana is. Now, nirvana in Indian soteriological traditions, because almost all traditions except Charvak school, they believe in some kind of nirvana or moksha or liberation. So, for example, Hinduism, so this comparative thing just we are telling so that you are aware of other schools also, how it compares with Buddhism. Now, in Hinduism, Advaita Vedanta, moksha is the realization of identity of Atma and Brahma. So, this is what Advaita Vedanta says. In Dvait Vedanta, that is Madhvacharya's Vedanta, and Visishta, it is proximity to a personal deity. So Visishta Advaita and Dvaita Vedanta, they say that it's proximity with personal deity. Jainism, uh, it says liberation of the soul from karmic bondage and its ascent to Siddhaloka. So that is Jainism definition. Buddhism is distinctly non-theistic, just like Jainism. Uh, Nirvana is freedom from clinging, self-illusion, and conditioned arising. So this is what the Buddhism definition. Thus, while the term is shared, its metaphysical and epistemological implications differ largely. So, this is just explained here because one should understand how Buddhism nirvana differs from Jainism or from Vedanta, so that kind of clarity is there. Now, what are the doctrinal positions in Buddhism? Again, there are, as I told, Buddhism, there are different schools, Theravada, Mahayana, Hinayana. So let us see what each school has to say about Nirvana. Now, in Theravada, Nirvana is unconditioned. That is unconditioned cessation of dukkha as the third noble truth. So this is what Nirvana, as far as Theravada is concerned. There is a Majjhima Nikaya, which is their text describes it as the unborn, unbecome, unmade, unconditioned. Well, that is their definition they have given in their text. So it is both the cessation of craving and cessation of rebirth. Now in Buddha Gosa in Visuddhimagga defines nirvana as cessation of all formations. And they have given two stages of nirvana. First is Sopadi Sesa Nirvana, that is with the reminder, liberation while the body remains. And second is Anupati Sesa Nirvana, that is Parinirvana, without remainder, that is liberation at death when aggregates dissolve. So these are two kinds of nirvanas which they have, Theravada has prescribed. Now, what is Mahayana perspective? Let us understand that also. Mahayana introduces more nuanced ontologies. Now, again, in Mahayana, there are different schools. So first is Madhyamik school, that is of Nagarjuna. Now, Nagarjuna argues there is no difference whatsoever between samsara and nirvana. Sunyata is the ontological basis. All dharmas are empty of Swabhava. Nirvana is not a metaphysical realm, but the realization of dependent origination without clinging. So this is what their definition. Nirvana is not a metaphysical realm, but the realization of independent origination without clinging. Now, what is another school of Mahayana, Yogacharya school? What they say? Nirvana is attained through transformation of consciousness, a shift from dualistic perception of non-dual awareness. The goal is not annihilation, but purified cognition. Then another school is there, Tathagat Garba school is there in Mahayana itself. It introduces the idea of Buddha nature. This we have seen repeatedly in different other topics also. Nirvana is the unveiling of innate luminous mind. Now, critics, including Madhyamika, argue this tends towards a quasi-Atman doctrine. So basically, one sub-school of Buddhism criticizes other sub-school of Buddhism also. So what they are saying is basically Tathagat Garba school, they are bringing back with Buddha nature kind of theory, a quasi-Atma philosophy in their theory, in their Nairatmavad theory, because other schools, they believe Nairatmavad, there is no self, but they are bringing Buddha nature, quasi-Atma theory in their doctrine. Now, Nirvana and doctrine of Anatta, how they are related, let us understand. Now, central to Buddhist tautology is the denial of an eternal self, because Anatta means there is no eternal self. This is central doctrine. Now, Nirvana is the experiential realization of this non-substantiality. Nirvana is not the survival of a soul, but the cessation of illusion of self and carving rooted in it. This is what Buddhist explanation is. However, this explanation is not agreed by other schools of philosophy, because they are very, very critical about this, which we will see subsequently. Now, in critical evaluation, first is conceptual ambiguity. Is nirvana a state, process, or negation? What is it? Early texts describe it both, and both positively and negatively, creating interpretative challenges. Edward Conje, a modern critic, suggests that this reflects its ineffability, not meant to be grasped by conceptual thought. So basically, there is a conceptual ambiguity as far as nirvana is concerned. Now, tension between schools, as we have seen, different schools have different interpretations also. Theravada insists on a sharp distinction between samsara and nirvana. Mahayana, particularly Nagarjuna, denies any ontological gap, and this raises metaphysical tensions. Does liberation involve a change in reality or in perception? So there is difference between different schools also. Now, what is epistemic access problem from that point of view? Now, modern thinkers like D.T. Suzuki and K.N. Tilke emphasize direct meditative experience as the only true access to nirvana. Now, verbal teachings are provisional. Skillful means to guide practitioners beyond dualistic thought. Then, what are the modern perspectives? Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan equated nirvana with moksha in ethical spirit, but Buddhist scholars like Bhikkhu Bodhi reject this, stressing the radical difference, especially the absence of any eternal self or divine unification in nirvana. So basically, if you see, a number of criticisms have been raised against the nirvana concept, and there are contradictions in internal contradictions or tensions among the Buddhist different Buddhist schools also. That also we should know. Now, what is the path of nirvana? The noble eightfold path which Buddhism has prescribed, outlined in Dhamma Chakkapavatana Sutta. The path comprises, this is uh, eightfold path, Ashtanga path, right view, Samyak Drishti, right intention, Samkalpa, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Now, this is divided into uh, three uh, to five, it's ethics basically, Sila. 6 to 8, it's mental discipline. So if you see 3 to 5 means right speech, right action, right livelihood. This is ethics. Then 6 to 8, that is right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. This is mental discipline. And 1 and 2, that is right view and right intention, is basically wisdom, that is pragya. So this eightfold path is divided again in three groups. That's also we should keep a note. It harmonizes with Jainism's triad. So, if you remember, Jainism has a triad of right faith, right knowledge, right conduct. And here they have eightfold path, but a number of commonalities are there. So, that also we should understand. Now, in conclusion, Nirvana is the ontological negation of craving and metaphysical duality, and the epistemological awakening of emptiness and non-self. So this is a very important statement. It is described as Santam Sivam Achyutam, peaceful, auspicious, and unshaken. The Buddha said in this Buddha's statement, it is this his beyond conceptual freedom, not annihilation, but complete detachment from all clinging. So this is basically actual. It is beyond conceptual freedom, not annihilation, but complete detachment from all clinging, that defines nirvana in its profound Buddhist sense. So this is actual conclusive definition of nirvana, if you can say. Now, this completes the part two of Buddhism. Now, there are two questions which we'll be taking uh, regarding Buddhism, which we'll be answering next week. Now, first question is, explain the concept of Pratyut Samutpad, that is dependent origination in Buddhism. How does it offer a middle path between Saswatvad, that is eternalism, and Uchchedvad, that is annihilationism? Second question is, discuss the theory of Anatta, that is non-self in Buddhism. How does it differ from concept of Atma in Hindu philosophy? Critically evaluates its significance in the path to Nirvana. So these two questions, I request you also to go through and try to answer. We will be taking up the model answer next week of these two questions. I have written 400 words each because uh, I feel that we will prepare for 20 marks question, which can be adopted in 10 or 15 marks question, subject to the condition that you practice with that adaptability. So I request you to do that. And these two questions we will be taking up next week. And again, next week we will be starting the chapter of Nyaya Vaisesik. Nyaya Vaisesik also we will again cover in about 2 weeks. That Nyaya Vaisesik part 1 we will be taking next week, and part 2 will again take up next to next week. So that's what we will do. So this completes the uh, Buddhism part 2 today. And thanks a lot for watching, and we'll meet again next week with the discussion on Nyaya Vaisesik and also the model answer for Buddhist question. So thank you once again.